The book of Esther, found in the Old Testament, is a truly amazing story. It's an incredible story about a woman, Esther, whom God chose to rescue the Jews. Hello, I'm Kathy Bartow. Esther's name at birth was Hadassah. She lived with Mordecai, her cousin, in Susa. Mordecai raised her as she had no father or mother. She was an orphan. Their kingdom was under the rule of King Xerxes. Now, the book of Esther, chapter 1, verses 4 through 5, tells us this about King Xerxes. Every day for 180 days, he showed his guests the great wealth of his kingdom. He also showed them how glorious his kingdom was. When these days were over, the king gave another feast. It lasted for 7 days. It was held in the garden of the king's courtyard. It was for all the people who lived in the fort of Susa. Everyone from the least important person to the most important was invited. It was during the king's banquet when he summoned his queen, Queen Vashti, to show off her incredible beauty to his guests. But Queen Vashti refused. Because of her refusal, she was banished, and the king's personal assistants made this suggestion to him. In Esther chapter 2, verses 2 through 4, they said, King Xerxes, let a search be made for some beautiful young virgins for you. Appoint some officials in every territory in your kingdom. Have them bring all these beautiful young women into the fort of Susa. Put them in the special place where the virgins stay. Then he put Haggai in charge of them. He's the official who serves you. He's in charge of the women. Let beauty care be given to the new group of women. Then let the young woman who pleases you the most become queen in Vashti's place. The king liked that advice, so he followed it. Esther wanted to become a concubine for King Xerxes, so she dropped the name Hadassah and took the name of Esther. Mordecai had suggested it best if Esther kept her nationality a secret. Esther chapter 2, verses 8 and 9. After the king's order and law were announced, many young women were brought to the fort of Susa. Haggai was put in charge of them. Esther was also taken to the king's palace. She was put under the control of Haggai. He was in charge of the place where the virgins stayed. Esther pleased him. He showed her how happy he was with her. Right away, he provided her with her beauty care and special food. He appointed 7 female attendants to help her. They were chosen from the king's palace. He moved her and her attendants into the best part of the place where the virgins stayed. Now, verse 17 tells us that the king liked Esther better than any of the other women. She pleased him more, so he put a royal crown upon her head and made her the new queen. Then he gave a feast to honor Queen Esther. As with any story, there is always an antagonist, someone who wanted to destroy the Jews in King Xerxes' land. It was Haman. Queen Esther knew this because Mordecai had told her. He overheard a plan that Haman had to kill King Xerxes. Esther knew that she had to approach the king with this important news. Esther, chapter 8, verses 5 through 8. She said, King Xerxes, I hope you will think that what I'm asking is the right thing to do. I hope you are pleased with me. If you are, and if it pleases you, let an order be written. Let it take the place of the messages Haman wrote. He planned to kill the Jews. He wrote orders to destroy us in all your territories. I couldn't stand by and see the horrible trouble that would fall on my people. I couldn't stand to see my family destroyed. King Xerxes gave a reply to Queen Esther and Mordecai the Jew. He said, Haman attacked the Jews, so I've given Esther everything he owned. My men have stuck a pole through his dead body, and they've set it up where everyone can see it. Now write another order in my name. Do it for the benefit of the Jews. Do what seems best to you. Stamp the order with my royal mark. Nothing that is written in my name and stamped with my mark can ever be changed. Esther chapter 9, verses 5 through 10. The Jews struck down with swords all their enemies. They killed them and destroyed them. They did what they pleased to those who hated them. The Jews killed 500 men. They destroyed them in the fort of Susa. They also killed the 10 sons of Haman. Haman had been the enemy of the Jews. They didn't take anything that belonged to their enemies. The greatness of Mordecai is seen in Esther chapter 10, verses 1 through 3. King Xerxes required people all through his kingdom to bring gifts. King Xerxes required gifts from its farthest shores. All the king's powerful and mighty acts are written down. That includes the whole story of how important Mordecai was. The king had given him a position of great honor. All these things are written in the official records of the kings of Media and Persia. The position of Mordecai the Jew was second only to the position of King Xerxes. Mordecai was the most important Jew. All the other Jews had the highest respect for him. That's because he worked for the good of his people, and he spoke up for the benefit of all the Jews. Mordecai told the queen in Esther chapter 4, verse 14. And this was when she knew of the plan that Haman had to kill King Xerxes, and she knew that she had to approach the king without being invited. So Mordecai is telling Queen Esther, if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. Queen Esther put her trust in God. She approached King Xerxes without the king asking her to approach him. She could have been killed for approaching the king without being invited. She knew this, but instead, her bravery and her trust in God saved God's chosen people, the Jews. Praise God. Till next time, peace be with you.